Hey, man.
Hey, what's up?
What's
Should we
going on
start?
there, Abercrombie and Fitch?
I like girls that wear. Are we doing this again? Is it your favorite song again, Rob?
No. You did watch that trailer though, right? Or the documentary series on Netflix?
I think my wife watched it, but I didn't get into it. I just remember it was a big deal. We used to have to travel across the border to A and F and search around in the dark. All their stores would have like really low lighting.
Yeah.
And they would spray cologne on all the clothes.
Yeah.
So it's like, ugh, what's up with this? Like, why do my clothes are such a strong smell? And they used to hire these big muscular dudes at the cash.
Right.
It was a sight to behold.
I got jobs all the time. It reminded me of like the more hip version of walking into the bay through like when your parents would take you through the bay and they'd always go through like the makeup and perfume section. There would always be people getting their makeup done and you're like, do you want a spritzer? And they would like, no, and it's always the worst smelling like perfume and women with like really big, like look like Tammy Faye Baker, like spraying perfume everywhere.
I remember they would spray it on a card and they would give it to you.
And they wave the card and you'd be like, oh.
Yeah, I'm like walking through as like a 13-year-old going like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm not gonna buy cologne. Like, I don't need cologne. This is weird sell. But it did make for a really good. I don't know if you remember that Friends episode where it was like Joey versus like another guy, and they were like dressed as cowboys and they were in the cologne aisle. That's and they were and then the guy sprays someone in the face and then Joey wins. It made for a good episode of Friends. Right. So what's up, everybody? If I could talk, we've got Lewis in the house. I see Scott is driving home. Drive safe, good buddy. Steve's in the house. Fraser's here. Anyone else hiding around? Thanks for joining us. It is Monday, February 6th. Holy Jesus. We're already a month deep into 2023. And I have not miswrote 2023 on any of my documents, but we sign hella less documents now in the modern age. Everything's digital now. So I feel like it's not as big a problem. Rob, how are you today, good sir?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. It makes me wonder. I've had this conversation with my wife recently about what do our kids when they grow up? Like they don't teach cursive writing anymore. So when they have to sign for documents, will it just all be electronic signatures? Like, or will you, because like you and I grew up in an age where people used to have to write checks to pay for groceries. Or you would write out, your bank withdrawal slip or deposit in the line, and then you would, hand it in with your cash.
It used to be a stack of these slips,
blue or white pages, and
then you had to take a pen and you had to fill it all out and hand it to the
cashier. Or going through the consumer distributing line. Going through the consumer distributing line with a little pen.
Let me check these forms off for you. And then here you go.
So I wonder what the kids are going to do, if this is all going to be like just digital. There's no more digital. It's all digital signatures and stuff. I don't know. You put a piece of pen and paper in their hands and they'll be lost.
They just like juggle, like they just flip the pen in the air. Like, I don't know what to do with
this. What is this archaic tablet thing hitting the paper? Turn on.
Oh man! All right, so that's our old dude rant, I guess. Old dads ranting. Today we're gonna be talking about Mission Impossible 2 later on, folks. So stay tuned.
It's Mission Monday.
Mission Monday. So first Monday of every month, and we're gonna watch a new Mission Impossible movie. This month was MI2, directed by John Woo. Not starring Jean-Claude Van Damme or Nicolas Cage or Chow Yun-Fat, starring Tom Cruise, Dougray Scott.
I'm very confused by this. It's Mission Monday. We're reviewing Mission Impossible 2, and you've got everybody else under the sun.
Yeah. No, well, I figure we're going to talk about John Woo in general. So I think it's going to come up, folks. So stay tuned for that. We're going to hit you with a bunch of other things before we get rolling. But we do want to check in with y'all and see how your weekend was. Mm-hmm. Lots of new content drops all over the place. Books, movies, TV, music, whatever you want to do. And we just want to hear what was good, what was bad. Let us know in the comments. Hit us up there, and we'll kind of address those comments. But I want to ask my buddy Rob first. How was your weekend? Did you watch the Grammys? Were you upset who won the Beyonce versus Adele? Best album or best artist?
Yeah, I literally couldn't give a shit. I did not watch the Grammys.
Harry Styles came out of nowhere and won it.
Since I I think I hit a certain age where newer music doesn't interest me, and therefore I have no interest in hockey again.
One of those guys.
Yeah. So I was just like, now forget. I have zero interest in watching it. So no, I did not watch that. I gotta tell you, John. So I spent a lot of time early mornings this weekend at the hockey rink. My son had very early morning games.
Yeah.
And so that allowed me to do all of my adult crap on Saturday, like groceries and bullshit like that, and allowed Saturday evening and then Sunday. We got home around 8:45 from hockey, and I had the entire day. So you know what I did, John? I didn't watch anything, bro. I played a little bit of Dead Space.
Yeah. Dead Space
good luck in that.
Remastered just came out, right?
It's right. But last time we spoke, well, last week we had the show here. I think I was about 20 or 30% into volume 2 of the Jeff Johns Green Lantern Omnibus. I crushed that on Saturday and then started volume 3. And I, as of like about 12 minutes ago before we started the show, I have about 180 pages left of volume 3. It's over 1,000 pages on it. So that's all I've done all weekend is sat on the couch and read all weekend long. So
yeah, no, I think that's great. You basically unplugged. You unplugged, chilled on the couch, snuggled up with a nice little comic or humongous omnibus, so you can kind of get your workout at the same time.
Yeah, the only other thing I did watch, rewatch The Accountant.
Okay,
Ben Affleck. I actually quite enjoyed that movie. It's a fun little movie. So
yeah, I heard that one was fun. I never got to that one. A couple people mentioned Paycheck because I guess that's Ben Affleck and John Woo. We might address that later on. But
honestly, you know what, man? I mean, I gotta tell you, like, I've been really enjoying reading this Green Lantern run. Like, I'm excited. It's really good. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm at that moment now where they've introduced Simon Baz.
Oh yes, I actually quite enjoyed that run, and I liked the take. I liked. I forgot who the artist was at the time, but his
Doug Mankey
was Doug Mankey. Yeah, he drew like Baz would make cars and all kinds of cool stuff. It put a lot of flair in there. It looked really cool.
Yeah.
So shout out to that. If you guys got to any reading, definitely let us know in the comments. Rob, I got to watch on Netflix. I've been kind of like, I'm a big hip hop fan, so this movie popped up. It's called City of Lies. I don't know if you heard of it.
I've heard of it.
With Johnny Depp, Forrest Whitaker, and it's about the Tupac Biggie murder. And some reason, this movie got shelved a while back. Some controversy. I don't know if it was a director or Depp or something along those lines. But it's finally popped up, and Johnny Depp plays Russell Poole, who was like one of the guys who exposed the whole big conspiracy and stuff. I watched it. It was not worth it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was not like nothing riveting about the performances. No real new information, except maybe if you're not too familiar with the murder and all the stuff surrounding and the Rampart scandal, all this kind of stuff. So I don't really recommend that. They did a much better job with it on a TV show called Unsolved, which had Josh Duhamel, I think, and they did a TV series of exploring this whole idea. So I recommend that over this. So if you saw City of Lies, I think it was number 1 or 2 trending on the movies on Netflix. You can probably skip it. And then Rob, I didn't get a chance to watch or read, but Pamela Anderson released a new book and there's a new documentary out. But she appeared on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast. I listened to that. She sounds super nice. It seems like just kind of like she's a goofy mom now.
Yeah.
But what type of attachment do you have to Pamela Anderson? Were you just a Baywatch fan like most of us, or Barbed Wire or something? Like I remember watching her in the media and some of the stuff that kind of happened to her, the double standard that kind of happened when her tape.
Yeah, but were you cognizant of that when that happened? Because I'll tell you, I will not shy away from admitting that I watched Pam Anderson on Baywatch for her assets and. And I went and saw Barbed Wire, and I hated it, but I watched it.
It was terrible,
stupid movie. And when she started becoming like, with all the Tommy Lee stuff, I saw the tape. Like it was all this stuff. I never had any appreciation for what she was going through in her personal life because I think I was just too young or immature, to really give a shit. I was like, whatever, this is a loser, she's an idiot, or whatever. It wasn't until really she was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. I think the last time I saw her was in like Borat. She made that appearance in the first Borat movie. But it wasn't until like I saw that Pam and Tommy limited series that's currently on Disney Plus that it really made me understand like the type of shit she was going through. And then so it's now made me a bit intrigued to actually watch this doc. I won't read the book, but I'd watch the documentary on it. Because like, I guess the older I'm getting, the more you realize that people are like, they were exploited, and sometimes they did it a little bit to themselves, but they were exploited. And there is it was a very huge double standard. And so, yeah. So I'm glad that you did not watch a documentary, but it's on your list.
I didn't watch the documentary, but she talks about it during the podcast, and it was done by her kids. And she actually is not going to watch it because I guess she maybe doesn't want to go back through all that. But she opened her life up to her, the people producing it and creating it, to kind of tell her side of the story. And then people are mentioning in the book the thing going through the headlines now is the whole Tim Allen thing. But she seemed like a really sweet person, and it looks like she did get a lot of kind of other stuff. She did kind of parlay her kind of notoriety or whatever at the time into some things, and got some political things and animal rights stuff done, which is really cool. So shout outs to her. If you guys got up to anything, let us know in the comments now. We're gonna look through. Let's see. Steve mentions, did you watch the White Man Can't Jump teaser, Rob, starring your boy Jack Harlow?
I don't know. I didn't know who that guy is. I did see it. I don't know why they're making a remake of this. Like that Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes movie with Rosie Perez. Like that's classic. And I saw this, and it's a weird because it's only like 45-second teaser.
It's too short. Yeah, I found it too short for me to really judge.
So I don't know if it's they're laying it up for a trailer to drop for the Super Bowl this coming weekend. I'm not sure, but I thought it was really shitty. And I question why. Why are we doing this? Why? Just because you can, John, doesn't mean you should. And this goes back to the things that you and we've talked about, and even with Stu. Stop. It's got to be quality over quantity. And Hulu is like, we got to burn some money. Let's make a reboot or a remake of White Man Can't Jump.
Maybe they're sitting on Money Train. Maybe they're sitting. Oh man, I would actually watch the Money Train. I feel like Money Train was a movie that I enjoyed a little bit more. White Man Can't Jump is a classic, but I remember it not being like the greatest of movies. But it's funny that it's coming back. I guess the hustle culture and stuff like that is going to feed into it. But I guess we'll see what Jack Harlow does. Big deal, that guy.
I guess.
Scott shouts out that he may have seen the Pam and Tom, or is it Tom and Pam? I don't know what the hell it was. The tape back in the day. I remember I was working at a video store that did have one copy for rent, and people kept coming in. And
that was pure bootleg.
No, it was officially released. I guess whoever profited from it was not them. But
no. But you know what? You actually would, and I had recommended this before. You should watch that Pam and Tommy. I think it's like 6 episodes or 5 episodes on Disney Plus. It's really good.
Yeah. The TV show, I wasn't feeling it, but maybe if you watch the whole thing, it's definitely maybe better. I didn't like the early part. Sorry, my daughter's like crawling around here for some reason. But Rob, I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention from the weekend.
No, I just hope that, you know what, there's a lot of things that we're going to get into. We don't really have a lot of news. We have a lot of like interesting little tidbits and stuff, and it kind of ties into reading, and omnis. And I think, John, if I'm not mistaken, you may be discussing an omnibus that was released in the store this week. But for those who are listening, because John failed to do it, this is the Heroes World Sidekick Show. Thank you for listening, because you're not joining us live, and you can though if you want to, every Monday night live, 8:15 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and also the Heroes World podcast. Last week it was John, Stu, myself discussed the big news that came out of the DC unveiling with James Gunn's unveiling, and it just seems to have been all last week, John. Pretty much, we released that video we did it on Tuesday night. We released it on Wednesday, but ever since then, almost all the news has kind of been surrounding the fallout, for lack of a better term, of that. So. You definitely want to check out what our thoughts are, but I think John's got some information on what is new in the store.
Yeah. So that's a good throwaway. Throwback, throw to, toss up, layup, alley-oop. Let's do the White Man Can't Jump metaphors. Thanks, Rob. I'm gonna mention that we just did get in the Daredevil Man Without Fear omnibus, some classic Frank Miller stuff. Rob, do you have a favorite Daredevil arc? Is it or era? Is it like this old school stuff? We've had some really, really good stuff, like the Brubaker stuff, the Brian Michael Bendis stuff, and the recent what's his name? His name just slipped my mind. Chip Zdarsky run.
Yeah. So I do like the Frank Miller stuff, like, you know, the first Elektra and the Bullseye. Like, I grew up on that stuff.
Yeah.
I did like the Zdarsky stuff. I have like the first 4 or 5 trade paperback volumes that they had released that I got from Heroes World. But I gotta say, John, I really enjoyed Kevin Smith's Guardian Devil.
Oh yeah.
He and Jimmy Palmiotti did together. I thought that was a pretty fantastic. I think it was like only 6 or 8 issues. It was
The first arc is definitely something worth checking out. So yeah, so the Kevin Smith run is arguably probably one of his best comic works. I think maybe Green Arrow would be like tied. Maybe, but yeah, I love the covers from this era. So if you ever go back and collect comic covers, the old Daredevil covers are like just fire. But my favorite era is probably going to be, I was going to say Bendis, but I think the Ed Brubaker run had some more fun stuff going on. So if you're looking to read good Daredevil, check that out.
But like, we got to talk about that cover, John, because I'm going to tell you right now, this is, and I'm not an expert in this, but I'm fairly certain that this is the very first omnibus that Marvel has released where they've reprinted a full cover from an issue as their cover. Like,
you'll see it says special double-sized issue on the cover and every, like the cover
has like
everything.
One, you know, April, you know, it's issue 161 and this and that. I mean, the only thing that's different is they have the price at the top left box is not 75 cents. But
do you think it's on purpose, or do you think someone got lazy?
No, I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
I think that's on purpose. And you know what? I'm okay with it. I actually I like the omnibus covers and whatnot. And you get, you know, sometimes they use alternate covers or whatever for it, right? But I like the way that it looks. I think that looks great. I do. I like it a lot.
Yeah. No, it's nothing. This is one of the most iconic covers in, I guess, comic history. So there's no messing with that. And before I move on to the next thing, Rob, we did want to do a quick check-in of Last of Us. Anyone who's watching it. Rob, do you have your quick thoughts on episode 4 that just aired this past Sunday?
As in yesterday. Yes. I really, really enjoyed it. I think it was a very difficult to come off of how like huge number 3 was. Like, let me tell you something. My 70, what year are we in, John? My 72-year-old mother says to me the other day, and
you watch Last of Us?
I'm on FaceTime with her, and she's like, should I watch that zombie show? And I'm like, well, you're really watering it. It's not really a zombie show. She goes, and I'm like, she goes, well, you know, is it something I think I would like? And I say, well, episode 3 was, she goes, that's all I keep hearing is about one of the best episodes of television written. And I'm like, yeah, it's really good. You should watch it. I think you'll really enjoy the makeout scene in episode 2. So I don't know if I haven't heard from her. Maybe she has. All I know is that she ended up watching all of The Wire, and I surprised the shit out of me. But I really enjoyed last night's episode 4. I think it is hard to get off that high from 3 to keep that momentum, but it did a really good job of, we've seen the preview of what's coming up next, and even in episode 4 is a little bit of action, but it's the story. It's the story of these characters that you are connecting with. It's crazy how much, and it is replicating that feeling you get playing the game of connecting with the characters. There's a PSA. Episode 5 is going to be airing early this week on Friday night on HBO and on Crave and whatnot. So it won't be airing Sunday because of the Super Bowl. So you don't have to worry about picking which one you want to do. You can watch it on Friday night.
Yeah. Do you consider that episode 3 the best episode out of all 4 so far?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hands down. Look how quickly Rob answered that. It had its own hashtag. If you start typing Last of Us as your hashtag, Last of Us episode 3 is right under the Last of Us hashtag. So
there we go.
Shout outs to that episode. We'll see if Rob was saying it should be nominated for like best episode or something like that so far. But they've got a couple more to go. They've got 9 episodes total, right, Rob? And
they do. Point. So we're hitting episode 5, as we said. John, I'm going to make a very bold prediction.
Yeah.
I think because of the weight of episode 3, The Last of Us will be nominated for best show of the year at next year's Emmys.
Oh, all right. So that's a raw prediction, folks. Mark it down
Yeah.
in your Vegas cheat sheets or whatever
Yeah,
it's
we'll
called.
see you in September.
Yes, I'll see you in September, and then let Rob know when September ends. Shout outs to that. Thanks for checking in with The Last of Us. And I wanted to mention one more thing at the store. We had a very successful pre-release for the new Magic set for Exia. All will be one. This very menacing-looking character here, Elish Norn, and the set will be fully on sale this coming Friday. We do have stuff left over from the pre-release available now, but if you guys are into Magic, you can get that from us all of this week. But
That
that's
looks
it
like
for
an outfit that would be very difficult to walk through doors with.
yeah. It looks very like Lady Gaga. If Lady Gaga wore this to the next Grammys or something like that, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't want to sit next to her.
You're like whacking people with their headpiece.
Oh, she goes to itch her shoulder, all of a sudden you're getting stabbed by
or they go for that reaction shot and she like has to turn and check the person behind her. But bam, someone goes flying over. But yeah, it would be a good skit, Rob. You should pitch that at the next next meeting. But Rob, let me throw it over to you if there is any news left after all the big DC stuff that threw down last week.
Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly chat about a couple of things that came out, especially something that came out quite today. That was very surprising. So, John, you know that I'm a big fan of Yellowstone. We've talked about it here, and Tyler Sheridan as a whole, the creator and whatnot. News came out late this evening that, or I guess early this evening, that Yellowstone as we know it may cease to continue after this summer's second half of season 5. But it's going to continue in another way, potentially starring Matthew McConaughey and some of the other cast members, except for Kevin Costner. So that sounds confusing. Let me just kind of... Apparently, Kevin Costner, according to a report in Deadline tonight, Kevin Costner has part of his agreement in starring in the series was only filming X number of weeks or days or whatever, because I guess of his busy schedule.
Yeah.
And as the seasons have gone on, his shooting availability has become less and less and less, to the point where supposedly for season 5, he was only providing 1 week of his time. And that's been having some creative issues with Tyler Sheridan and maybe from Paramount and whatnot. So I think if I'm understanding the article correctly, excuse me, to kind of resolve that issue, they're going to essentially end Yellowstone as we know it, and then have a spin-off again with most of the cast, and then Matthew McConaughey, who is in talks to lead it. So that was a huge shocker that came out tonight. So if you're fans of Yellowstone, you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes peeled as to what's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm a noob to the series. I'm only on episode like 2 or something like that. But they have like a bunch of spin-offs. Do the spin-offs also star Kevin Costner?
No, they don't.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, and to my understanding, from one episode deep, he seems like the main character in the show. So I don't know. And is Matthew McConaughey an existing character, or this would be a completely new character? Oh,
no, he'd be a completely new character. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend people want to go check out the Deadline article. Go ahead. Apparently, it's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in his limited amount. And I listen. I don't know. This is just me saying. If I'm an actor and you're committing your time to a certain amount, you're hired for a job, and you're acting opposite Mr. Costner, and he has like a window that's like this. That makes it very difficult to get into the process if you have a very limited amount of time and he's got to film a bunch of scenes. And allowing yourself only a week or 2 weeks of filming over the course of the year is not conducive to making great content. So that's my opinion.
If it seems rushed. Like we have seen in some, I guess, I don't know if anyone's watching the newer Bruce Willis movies. It looked like he had very limited time on set with those producers, directors, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be difficult, but shout outs to let's see what Matthew McConaughey has to offer.
Well, hey, last time in TV, he was it was True Detective.
Last time in TV,
Yeah, lightning can strike twice. Okay, I want to talk about Midnight Suns, a video game, because we talk about video games a lot.
Yeah.
John, this is a huge game that was coming out. The Midnight Suns, based on the Marvel property, it was a role-playing game of sorts, right?
Yeah.
And apparently, it's what came out in December. There's a lot of like hype for it last summer. With some trailers and everything else like that. It had Blade, Wolverine, Iron Man, Ghost Rider. And apparently it also had an inability to affect audiences, as it has been a complete bomb
Wow.
A commercial flop. Even according to the developer at Take-Two, the CEO said it's not doing well. He admits that it's possible the release window being December the 2nd wasn't very good for us. But I'm not a fan of this type of game style. But I also know that there was next to zero buzz going into the holiday season for this game. Now, I know that Andre was excited about this, and he was thinking about, I don't know if he picked it up or not. Do you know anybody that's played this game?
I think Scott in the comments has mentioned he wrapped it. Actually, he finished the game.
Okay.
And he seemed okay with it, but the general consensus is not a lot of people dug this game. So I don't know if that's like the second miss in a row, like because that Avengers game came out and no one really liked that, and I heard it got a little bit better after. But people did like the Guardians game, so it's not in a row, but it's another big game that kind of just slid under the door, slid under the carpet, and maybe someone will unearth it later on. I don't know if that's a metaphor. Is that
well, it's funny. So I was at GameStop on the weekend, and they had Gotham Knights.
Yeah.
And originally, so on PS5, $90, right? But it was on sale for $70, not used, like brand new. And
should be $6.99. That's the right price.
It's going to keep plummeting in price. And that was another game that I heard nothing but atrocious things about. So I don't know. Maybe people are tired of the genre.
Yeah. Maybe, or I feel like it was just a bad time. I don't know. I haven't tried the game, so it could be a combination of many things. But Marvel Snap did do very well, which was a card-based game.
Yeah.
And this also maybe they had too many releases at the same time. But yeah, Shadows, too bad. Yeah, so sad.
So sad. Too bad. See you later. All right.
It'll be on discount soon. So if you waited, it's gonna pay off. I don't know.
We have two more stories, John.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know if you saw this on the news today or not. But AMC Theaters in the U.S. has decided to change the movie ticketing prices based on their seating location. Did you hear about this?
I saw something change something prices. I didn't read the article though, but that sounds hilarious.
Yeah, so I'm trying to see what they're actually calling it. It's a funny little name based on where you're going. Seats are most common. And anyways, I'm going to try to find it. But value sightline pricing, that's what they're calling it. Value sightline pricing. So if you want the best seat in the house, right in the middle, then you got to pay a higher amount or premium. Or if you want like that middle row but off to the right, it's higher than say the back or bottom or whatever. Like you've got different prices. I think this is like stupid. Like here's the thing. Movie exhibitors are always saying we need to get people back to come back to the theater, come back to the theater, come back to the theater. Stop doing stupid shit like this. Like
stop making it so complicated. It's already pretty complicated when you're going to a movie, Rob, and if you maybe want someone to join you, you got to send them the time, the theater, the seat numbers, and all that kind of jazz, right? So
listen, we used to go through the newspaper, right? They'd have the movie listings, and you'd find your theater and what time shit was playing, and you call up your buddy, say, "Hey, John, you want to go to the movie tonight? Yeah, where are we going? Let's go to Fairview. All right, what time? 7:10. Dragon, the Bruce Lee's always playing at 7:10. All right, cool. Meet you there. Cool." And that was it. And you would go and you would get your tickets, and maybe you'd have to line up. Then they had like movie phone, and you could listen to when the movie, thank you for calling movie phone.
You listen to the long pre-recorded listing.
Right. And then it was like, oh, online shit. Now I can see, I can't buy it, but I can see it. And then they got away with having to line up for 4 hours beforehand, John. You didn't have to line up to see Star Wars, The Phantom Menace type styles of 3 hours beforehand. You could purchase your tickets in advance, and you could pick your seats. That was the last thing. Those were all enhancements to our movie-going experience. But now charging people different prices based on the location of your seats, not on premium seats. I pay for the premium seats. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
That's fine. I like the premium seats, but I would not pay extra for the prime locations. Like, that just to me is stupid. So you need
what happens when you go and you pay for the prime location and the theater is empty? Do you then get a refund for the difference?
Yeah, if I paid for the premium seats and I went to see Clerks 3 and it was only me and that other guy, I'd be really pissed.
Yeah, yeah.
I paid extra.
You know what I would pay extra for, and up to double, triple the amount if I could pay to have a seat where if someone opens up their cell phone within my eye line, someone runs up and just slaps the phone out of their hand. I'd pay for that service.
Yeah.
100%.
There you go. And then the last thing I want to talk about, John, is we're going to tie into what we talked about like last week's news with James Gunn and what they're doing with the DC universe, and also retailers such as you, and talking about comics and books. And James Gunn sent out a tweet kind of highlighting some of the books that are influencing where they're going with this new DC universe. And for those who, if you're listening online or you can't see it on the YouTube, he had 4 photos: one of All-Star Superman, one of Batman by Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison also All-Star Superman, Absolute Swamp Thing, which is the Alan Moore run, and then The Authority.
Yeah, and they're not pictured as a Supergirl.
Right, they're not. Yeah, so he just said like this is the tone. All-Star Superman, hey guys and girls, spoilers, he dies at the end of it, but that's not, they're not adapting it. It's just the tone of it. But the interesting thing about this is that he also then sent out a tweet saying, hey, I've spoken to Jim Lee. We're going to be getting more of these comics back on the shelves, because since the announcement, including Supergirl, is it Woman of Tomorrow, I think it's called, or whatever, that shit has sold off the shelf like crazy. All of those Grant Morrison Batman, the 3 omnibuses that he has, sold out on Amazon completely. Retailers are saying that they're being picked clean of all this reference material. I'm not sure how it's affecting with you guys, but I will say this is a good problem to have, right? Like this is a good problem if people are running and now picking up the source material and picking up these comics. So I think that's good. But what's it been like for you?
Yeah, I got several calls over the weekend, especially of note that Supergirl run. Everyone really wanted to get that in either collection or single issues if I had any. I wish I did have some. I think it did come out during the pandemic, so you're probably not going to find a lot of copies of them out there. But yeah, it's nice that they actually did this for a change. Usually you see the movies open up, no mention of the fact that there's comic books existing for it. So I feel like this is a nice change, no matter what you think of James Gunn and the whole DC flippity-doo, whatever you want to call it. It's nice that he actually gave this a shout out, named the books that he's mentioned, and kind of sent people out to get them. So it's a very interesting turn of events, whereas previously they literally don't mention comics at all. Opening the movie doesn't say based off a comic book or anything like that sometimes. So it's a nice change. So hopefully more stuff like that.
I don't remember Marvel ever doing anything like this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't remember them ever for any of their movies coming out saying, hey, check out these comics or whatever. And I could be wrong.
Yeah, but they have made them. They've made tie-in comics, but no one involved in the movie ever kind of props them up. Yeah, no director during an interview goes, oh, by the way, Marvel's also releasing a comic book to coincide with this. Or, oh, we this influenced us in the writing room or the script treatment room, whatever the hell you call it. But yeah, it's nice to see.
Well, and so Tom King, who is the writer of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and who is part of this writer's room that has been amassed by James Gunn, when news came out that his stuff is completely sold out, he grabbed boxes of his copies of Supergirl, he signed them all, and he took them to his local comic shop and was giving them away to people who wanted them. And he had like 100 or 200 books. He was just sitting there. So you saw his social media stuff, just sitting there signing all of his free copies, comps that he was getting, and was going to give them all away and stuff. So this also then begs the question, like, first of all, I know people are clamoring for like an Authority omnibus. I believe it's been out of print for years. I'm hoping that Warner's/DC get off their, whatever, and start, reprinting some of this stuff. But do you guys have any? Are you guys all out now? The Grant Morrison Batman?
I think we might have the odd trade paperback. None of the big collections or anything like that, and literally everything else is gone. I think we normally carry the Authority softcover, but I feel like those sold out a little bit before. I did see some residual sales to Ultimates which is a
Okay.
very similar run to the Authority, but I
Right.
don't know if that was tied to the fact that the Authority is getting a lot of heat now. So yeah, we'll see when it all comes back in stock. Hopefully the hype is still there. We've still a ways out before any of these things actually hit the theaters, so there's plenty of time for them to reprint, us to restock, and get it in people's hands for them to check out. And it looks like none of it's going to be like spoilery, so you'll be able to see the influence, but also be able to enjoy whatever the new thingamabob is that comes out.
That's awesome. If it gets people back into reading and stuff like that,
Yeah.
then I'm all for it. So that's perfect. So that John is our news for the week.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Rob. Yeah. Steve notes that no one has mentioned the name Warren Ellis because they're going to keep that on the down low for a little while. He's in a bit of hot water, so we'll see if that resurfaces later on. But
you know
thanks,
what
everybody.
I do hope, though, John, as an aside, I do hope that DC will start printing more shit, more omnibuses. Like, I feel Marvel's killing them in their collected editions game, man. Like, I feel like Marvel's releasing stuff all the time, and Warner's DC is just not matching.
Yeah, it does seem like there is a slant, especially DC's older stuff. They don't seem to be capitalizing as much as Marvel is doing with their reprints of classic Wolverines and X-Men and all that kind of stuff. It seems to be primarily newer stuff. Maybe that's their plan. The whole synergy, I think Michelle mentioned it earlier, synergy of tying it together with maybe current series. Maybe that's their plan. But it would be nice to see some of the classic stuff come back.
Well, it'd be nice to see, like, if you look at Superman omnibuses, there's like really only the Gleason Tomasi and the Death of Superman, and that's it.
Yeah. It would be neat to see the old Man of Steel, John Bryan run and all that kind of stuff. Pop up, but maybe the demand isn't there. Maybe no one's asking for Superman Red Blue, where he turned into Electric Superman and all that kind of stuff. But
I don't know.
You never know until you make it, right? All right. Thanks for all the news, Rob. Thank you guys in the comments for sticking with us. Do we want to wrap anything else up, or are we going to start diving into our...
I think we're going to dive into our movie of the night. It is Mission Monday. This is John's favorite film franchise of all time. Next to his fan fiction of The Notebook.
Bring it on. Has like 7 or 8 movies. Let's go.
So we are talking about, thank God we're not getting trailers for all of these damn movies like we're getting with Fast and Furious.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention that. Before we move on to that, Rob, we're seeing a bunch of new, I don't know what are they calling them?
Legacy trailers.
Yeah, you sent me one for Batman 89. I watched it. It was pretty fun. And then we're seeing Fast and the Furious. It looks like they're going through all the Fast and the Furiouses and releasing legacy trailers. What do you think of this new trend? Is this cool?
No, well, to be honest with you, I thought that they were doing the Batman one because I thought there was going to be an announcement that they're going to re-release Batman 89 in theaters because of the upcoming. All right, for those
tune in the live stream, folks. You got to see what's going on here in the chat.
Missionary Mondays, and he would know he's no BGYN. And we were, I thought we were going to be getting an announcement of a re-release in theaters of Batman 89 to coincide with The Flash coming up. So that's kind of why I thought they released a trailer.
Yeah.
But no. Also absent, John, any music from Prince in that trailer. I don't understand, but all right, whatever. But yes, then now Fast Furious are doing, like, I think it's like almost every day they're releasing a new legacy trailer for each of their movies leading up to Fast 10. Which I think the trailer comes out on the 10th or 11th or whatever. So whatever, man. I figured it's up your alley. I figured you'd be loving this.
They look nice. I guess they're making sure they're nice in the new high def, whatever. So if you went back and watched the Fast and Furious 1 trailer, it's not going to look as good as these new recuts. Same with the Batman 89. It looked really fresh. And at the end, it said, own it on digital or Blu-ray. Yeah. So I guess if you dug up an old trailer and watched it, it would say in theaters 1992, whatever, whatever it came out.
89, John.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm 89, dumbass.
Maybe it didn't reach theaters. Anyways, I wonder if they're gonna start cutting them together and selling you like false, like fake trailers. I wonder if that's gonna be an issue. I watched the Batman one. It looked like that was what the movie was. It didn't look like they were trying to pull any trickery, really.
No,
But who knows when that's gonna start?
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, on to Mission Impossible 2, folks. Thanks for joining us. We're here to talk Tom Cruise in this.
Yeah. All right, John, I got the rundown for you, buddy.
Yeah, let's hear
You
it.
get some water.
Hydrate.
Gin. All right. Released on May 24th, 2000, Mission Impossible 2. Once again, stars Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, not his brother Mike, and sees Ving Rhames as the only other.
I got it. I just got that. All right, go.
Okay. As the only other, Ving Rhames is the only other returning cast member, reprising his role of Luther Stickle. Brian De Palma, who helmed 1996's first installment that we watched a few weeks ago, was replaced by Hong Kong action director John Woo. With a budget of about $125 million, the movie brought in $546 worldwide and ended up being the highest grossing movie, John, of 2000. The movie was written by Ronald D. Moore and Brandon Braga. Now, if those names sound familiar, it means you're likely a Trekkie, as the two worked on numerous Star Trek shows and are oftentimes credited as actually destroying the Star Trek brand. Of course, Ronald Moore has redeemed himself with a little favorite show of mine called For All Mankind, but I digress. Mission Impossible 2 also stars Dougray Scott, Thandie Newton, Brendan Gleeson, and William Mapother. John, do you know who that is?
No, which guy's that?
Well, he's Tom Cruise's cousin. And I don't have a photo of him, but I assure you he's one of the bad guys. Speaking of Cruise, Paramount was not happy.
Is he the computer guy, maybe? There was a random computer guy. That I was like, where did this guy come from?
The guy who stood up and he was like,
it's done. And I'm like, who's this guy? Where did this guy come from?
That's Tom Cruise's cousin. Speaking of Tom Cruise, Paramount was not happy with the lack of safety around the opening scene with Ethan Hunt free climbing, but Cruise insisted the stunt go ahead. It was the best possible way to reintroduce Ethan Hunt to audiences. Now, it is quite possible, John, that this movie will be remembered most for Dougray Scott, who was once cast as Wolverine, but was injured filming the motorcycle scene with Cruise, coupled with a delay in the production that forced him to drop out of X-Men. And the role of Wolverine went to a song and dance fella named Hugh Jackman. Don't know whatever came of him. Despite being the highest grossing film of 2000, the movie was met with mixed reviews. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a critic score of 56% and an audience score of 42%. So, John, did you find this mission thrilling or impossible to get through?
Is this one of those rare occasions where the audience score is like lower than the critic score?
Yeah, because that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's a little bit more accurate. I feel like the critics might have been a little generous on this. But young me, 1990s me or 2000s me, did have a great time with this movie, and I was actually surprised on the rewatch. I feel like it's happened a couple times where I've hit eject on this movie because it's so slow. But let's dive into it, folks. So Mission Impossible.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think, because I think this movie is a pant load, but you guys,
you think it's a pant load? I don't know about that.
Here, I found somebody said it in the comments. The dialogue of MI2 is rudimentary at best. That's still a lot of high praise. Like I thought that the script is atrocious. I thought that the action scenes were okay. The fight scenes between Dougray Scott and Tom Cruise were probably the best of the entire thing. I thought the whole story was convoluted. And I think that I'm going to take a hot take here, John.
Yeah.
I think John Woo's style of directing does not fit American movies because I think that he doesn't have the creative freedom to do what he wants to do. I think they want a John Woo looking movie under their control. And this is what we get, right? You get something like this where there's slow motion for no reason. I mean, we always joke about John Woo and the dubs, but the slow motion for no reason. It looks like it was a parody of a John Woo movie. Like it looked like somebody was just trying to like ape his style.
Yeah. Did you know that there was allegedly a 3-hour cut of this movie?
I think we watched that, even though it was 2 hours and 3 minutes. I think that was the cut that we saw.
It has some type of real world effect where it just extends the slow motion in real world to longer than what it was. But yeah, when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, this guy John Woo, and I feel like we'll talk more about just John Woo in particular later on. But this movie, I think you're right, Rob. There's lots of scenes, and it's almost all of them that overstay their welcome. Right? You're watching it, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. Tom and Thandi is it Tandy or Thandie?
Tandy Newton, I believe.
Tandy Newton. Oh, they're gonna do this car chase, and then you're like, okay, this is a little bit longer than it should be. Oh, they're gonna break into this facility. Okay, this is taking way longer than it should have. Oh, they're gonna have a motorcycle fight. How come they're still fighting? How come this fight isn't done yet?
Here's what's even better.
Yeah,
maybe one of the longest introductory scenes for a character, because when you're watching Tandy Newton and you know the flamenco dancers are happening all around, and it's slow-mo shots of creepy Tom Cruise looking at her, and like people are walking in front of her, and it's like super slow and everything's slowed down. It's like, why? Like that scene, you could almost replicate that in any Bond movie. Like that, you get that scene in a lot of those Bond movies. Just play on normal speed. You're introducing a character in a club of some sort. Like that's a trope. Why do you need to slow it down to like half speed or like a quarter speed? For what purpose? What does it serve? Like, I don't get it.
because you have that slow-mo button. Yeah, Michelle says MI2 has a lot of filler. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, all filler, no killer.
Every scene kind of felt like it overstayed its welcome. So somewhere in some world there exists maybe a 90-minute cut of this, or an hour and 20-minute, so an 80-minute cut or whatever, that works much better. And then the whole story, yeah, you're right, it's convoluted. But the rumor was that John Woo, either his English wasn't good enough at this time, or he just refused to speak English, and they had to kind of like piece things together. I think there's a whole bunch of articles about Tom Cruise trying to, you know, take the helm and try to figure things out. There's an article with Tandy and Tom having an exchange of some kind. But it looks like it has been kind of smoothed over, and she just said it was just an intense moment in her career, and that there was a lot of pressure on Cruise. But Rob, I know you like to nitpick, or not nitpick, but little things bother you. How much did it bother you when the motorcycles changed tires?
I don't even think
You didn't even know.
I don't even
these are street bikes, and at one point, because they're on the sand and stuff, I don't know if it's because of safety or whatever, they switched to like kind of like a dirt bike tire.
Oh, really?
And I remember as a kid, this really bothered. I was like, "What the hell happened? How come they're riding dirt bikes all of a sudden?"
I didn't even notice. I was more enthralled with the fact that physics. I'm not a physicist, John. But physics. No, wait. They don't dictate that you could kick a gun out of the sand straight up. What should have happened? He should have kicked that gun, and it should have gone to Luther, like to Ving Rhames. He should have been like, "Whoa!"
And then he should have kicked it back.
Yeah, not like boom, kicked it up straight up as if it was on like a pogo stick. Like,
yeah. Since we're talking about kicks, I don't know if you remember this skit. There was a skit with Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
At one point during the skit, Ben Stiller, I don't know if he was purposely making fun of the movie or whatever. He's like, "It's not kicking impossible," and then Tom Cruise does a lot of kicks in this movie. Yeah, and it is over the top. Like I started to make a list, and then it got to a point where I'm like, there's just too many kicks to list. There's a kick where he does like a little kind of like flip cartwheel kick onto like just a random guy patrolling around nowhere for no reason, to finish him off. And then the next guy, he does like a guile flash kick. And then he does like on Dougray Scott, he does a multitude of like probably 10, 12 like Van Damme-ish type kicks, which is ridiculous. And I don't think Tom Cruise has ever kicked so much in his career.
It was funny. There's that one kick where he was standing and he jumped and he flips and essentially does a leg drop on the guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, what did that do?
It looks really ridiculous now. He actually does a cartwheel at one point, and he does a lot of like Jet Li like moves. So I don't know if John Woo was just like, "Hey, do this cool shit that Jet Li does in our movies overseas, and we're gonna turn Tom Cruise into the American Jet Li."
Here's the other thing, John.
Yeah.
So Tandy Newton injects herself with the virus, right?
Are you talking plot? Because it doesn't matter.
Dougray Scott has the antidote.
Yes. But
Instead of going through this
Bellaform, what's it
whole
called?
rigmarole of bullshit, why not
The
just
antidote
reverse
is called
engineer it?
Bellaform or whatever. What's the antidote called again? Bellaform, and then the disease is called Chimera or something like that.
Chimera, yeah. But why not just reverse engineer it? I mean, you've got the antidote. The antidote would contain the virus. Just reverse it. Like, what are you doing?
I think you're asking too much of the particular plot points. Like, there's a lot of like if you're gonna pick apart plot, how about the whole idea that Dougray Scott wants stock options? Aren't they gonna notice this massive purchase of this company where he obtains 51% right before they produce the cure for this thing that just destroys the world? I thought that was just
yeah.
funny.
I think the SEC would probably be like, wait a minute, that's some insider trading.
Something I feel like it can be easily backtracked on what's going on. Can we? I don't know if we want to pick it apart anymore. Rob, if this was going in the fire, is there any scene or portion or thing from this movie that you would save?
I will say that, like, again, the hand-to-hand fight combat between Cruise and Dougray Scott was pretty cool.
Yeah. I remember watching the behind the scenes stuff where they did the knife gag with Tom Cruise, and it's physically done. They have a knife on like a rope, and they measure it out, and they're just like, and it's like, go like this. I'm like, was this really necessary? When I watch it after knowing what went behind the scenes, it is intense, but I don't remember thinking it was super intense in the theaters. I think you would have just assumed it was CG or done very slowly. But I feel like it was very unnecessary.
Yeah, I don't know how happy I'd be with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Did you? So you would save the fight, the final boss fight.
That's about it.
Yeah, I feel like the final boss fight is too long. There's a point where Tom Cruise does like a 20-hit combo. Dougray Scott finish him off.
I know. I was like looking at the top of the screen. I was like, oh, is there going to be like a health meter that's going to start going down? Like we're a super punch.
Yeah, he would have charged the super meter.
XB. Well, and the other thing is, I have to tell you is that I think Tom Cruise with long grunge hair does not work well.
I was gonna say, did you like his hair in this movie?
No. So when he's doing these flips and these kicks where his whole body's like contorting and his hair is like all over the place, I was just like, come on, man. Yeah, I mean, it
looked good. It looked good stationary.
Right. Stationary. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Scott mentions one of the speeches that Cruise gives. Yeah, a lot of just any dialogue that was longer than a couple seconds was pretty bad. There were a couple moments where they're doing their spy stuff, and he's like,
their spy stuff.
Yeah, he's like, confirm left pocket or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's a neat little detail, I guess.
The voice changer.
I don't know how many masks were used in this. I thought it was less than number one, but this is definitely more.
Well, yes. And I will say though that their transition of like the mask stuff was a lot better than the first one. Like the way that they edited that and cut that to make it look.
Well, there was a different actor playing the doctor, right? It wasn't Tom Cruise in like a prosthetic playing it both times or whatever, right? That was a separate actor, right? That played the doctor.
No, it was the same doctor who died on the beginning. It was the same.
Yeah, but it's a different actor. It's not Tom Cruise in a mask.
Oh yes, yeah. No, but like when you see like them pull the fake mask off, like I thought that was better done. Like the transition, the sweat was way better done in this one than it. Yeah.
Still so many questions that arise when you start throwing masks on people and having them cry and what's this magical voice chip that just makes anybody sound like anybody?
Yeah.
But
that is in future installments. That little trick
they do. Yeah. Is it from the TV show? Is that why maybe it's
no
so much
for the
movie? Oh man. Okay. So do you think a rated R cut would have helped this movie at all? Because there's a lot of silent neck snaps and people dying off screen, which is really bizarre.
No, I think a new script and a new director would have helped it. Like, and I like John Woo movies to a point. I just think that I think he has to have control over his product, and I think that I didn't like Hard Target I didn't like at all. I thought the directing on that was atrocious. I didn't like, I think
Van Damme sells it. I think Van Damme sells the silliness.
Not even close. Not even his Billy Ray Cyrus haircut sells that. And then I didn't like Broken Arrow too much, although
Mhm.
that's the least John Woo-y movie that he did.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed Face Off, which we do have to watch again. But I think there's a reason why after a few movies he left Hollywood. I just don't think he had the creative control and freedom, and I don't think it translated well his style to some of these IPs.
Yeah, I think if someone was able to, I guess, help him cut back, cut it down, like
Yeah.
all of his movies are almost consistently over 2 hours or whatever. When I was starting to like look around, Hard Boiled, all those movies look like they're all around the 2 hour mark or on the longer end. I think Broken Arrow maybe was only like 90 minutes, maybe at most. But like you said, it was the least John Wooey of all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely.
And it did have Christian Slater in it and John Travolta. Oh, I remember that movie being fun.
I just saw it a little while ago. Not so much.
Not so much. All right, that will not be on the rewatch. Did I have anything else on this movie? I don't think so. I think my essential thoughts are just the movie. Everything overstays its welcome in this movie.
It blows me away that it was the highest grossing movie of the year.
Yeah. Well, it was a big deal. This was at the time that those Asian directors were just starting to cross over and starting to pop in a bunch of movies.
Oh, right. Scott is showing his age. Nobody, every time I mention this movie, nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. But Scott does. Gleam in the Cube, Christian Slater.
Oh, I remember Cuffs. Cuffs was a great movie.
Yeah, Gleam in the Cube. Cuffs is post Pump Up the Volume. Gleam in the Cube is prior to Pump Up the Volume. It's old school Christian Slater when he's got a Korean adopted brother. Yeah, it's crazy.
Never heard of
it. Yeah. It's all on. It's about skateboarding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never heard of it. Okay, so good. It's a good question from Scott, helping us move on here. MI1 or MI2? Which do you choose out of those two movies, Rob? If we had to rank these so far that we're at 2 movies deep, which one would you rather rewatch again?
Probably MI1.
MI1?
Yeah. Without I know I had dramatic effect pausing there, but no. It's
MI1. You hesitated. I noticed you hesitated. I would actually put MI1 on the bottom just because
you're so dumb.
I have no attachment to it. I watched it once in theaters.
What attachment do you have to this one? The Limp Bizkit song that was like lame bastard or like what, man?
Did they even play it during the movie? I was looking for your Metallica song, but
that was in the credits.
Played in slow motion. I've got a little bit of nostalgia for this, and the cars and the bikes and the Oakleys push it up. And I feel like Ethan Hunt is being more Ethan Hunt in this movie, where he's basically he shoots a lot of people in this movie. I feel like he doesn't shoot quite as many people in all the upcoming Mission Impossibles. But you don't hire John Woo and go, hey, your character's not going to shoot a gun, right? So it's not really his fault. But I feel like he was trying to be more Ethan Hunt when he was like, oh, bring her to me, I'm going to save her, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know.
Fraser's getting ahead of himself. Fraser's like 3 was better than 2. All right, hey, that's not till next month.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it. I think 3, and I feel like 3 got such a bum rap. I feel like everyone considered 3 the worst. They were like, oh my god, they ruined it. 1 and 2 were such a big.
I found it the opposite way. I thought number 3 reinvigorated the franchise, and I think it helped. And my thesis, John, will be that it helped propel number 3, directed by J.J. Abrams. And I think that might have been his first feature he directed. I think it helped propel the franchise to where we are now. They are still produced by Bad Robot, which is JJ's outfit. And you have the amazing Philip Seymour Hoffman. I will find her. I will kill her. It was great. I think he was an absolute blast with villain. I can't wait. And it had that scene where he's running. Now, that was a moment that Tom Cruise all of a sudden became the running guy, right? Because he's running on the bridge and the rocket hits. I
thought that was the Firm. I think the Firm is where he's running the most. Is it not?
Well, and then he slides into a car and then he gets bounced off another one. Yeah. I remember seeing that in the trailer going, whoa. And that reinvigorated my love for this property because number 2 killed it. So I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, see, Michelle, I think this is what people thought at the time. I think people thought 3 was no good back then. They weren't a fan of the Abrams direction. Abrams coming straight off of Alias, right? And I think you're right. This is the first time I remember hearing about him jumping to the movie realm, coming from a TV show. But I feel like that was the general consensus back then. But I feel like you're on the right track because I remember watching 3 recently because it popped up on streaming somewhere. And I was like, oh, let me watch this. I remember everyone hated this. And I was like, oh, this is actually, I like this. I thought this was pretty good. So yeah, if anyone else has their rankings of Mission Impossible 1 and 2, but I feel like I know where that's going.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to wrap up Mission Impossible 2. So you were basically saying John Woo, you're not a big fan of his stuff. You would probably put Face Off at the top of your list for John Woo movies.
American movies. I really loved Hard Boiled, but it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah. I think I want to put Hard Target up there, but we did do a rewatch of it recently. If you go back in our archives, and it was not as good as I remember.
Yeah, that was a hard watch.
So I feel like it is going to be Face Off. I think Face Off, because of Nicolas Cage, is going to be able to carry itself to the top. So we'll save that one for later.
We actually do have to rewatch Face Off. Maybe 1995 that came out, I think, right? So I don't know. I mean, we're not going to hit that 30-year mark, but maybe we'll have to hit the or is it 40-year mark? We have to hit the 30-year mark. We'll have to do it sometime in the summer. I think it came out in May or June. So
yeah, we'll slate that. I think that one will be fun. We talked a little bit about it. If you dig up our Nicolas Cage countdown episode with me, Rob, Stu, and Gord, I think was in the mix. We had a lot of fun, and I'm pretty sure Face Off was on everyone's list. Rob's dying over here.
That was really tough. I don't know. Chimera is infected.
Yeah, Rob. We have to find Rob the Belair for him. They really tried with the whole Greek mythology and everything. It's really out there for a mission movie.
Yeah, they tried with the Greek mythology and threw in a bunch of Spanish dancing music. Whatever, man. I don't know.
And Ving Rhames had the longest 13 seconds to get out of that van too. I was like, yo, this guy's out of time. And then he proceeds to get his jacket stuck and then still get out of there.
I'm so glad they didn't bring back that Scottish guy. He was useless. The helicopter pilot.
I don't know. Never know. There's the new movie. There's rumors of all kinds of people coming back, right? So maybe we'll see Andy come back. Maybe you'll see. I think the next movie has Maggie Q, and a bunch of other stuff going on. So maybe we'll see a whole bunch of people come back for Dead Reckoning when we get there.
Probably not Emilio Estevez. That guy got destroyed.
Maybe he'll come back and he'll have a thing sticking out of his head.
I've been sitting on the top of that elevator for years. Where have you been?
Lewis, I think one of us is going to have to do the recon on Hard Boiled before we slate it as a rewatch and see if we make it through it. Because I did see it was over the 2-hour mark. So you should do that, Lewis, and let us know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So thanks everybody for joining us for Mission Impossible 2. Mission Impossible 3 will be the first Monday of March. So mark that on your calendars. But what are we going to do next?
March the 6th, John. Oh my God. February the 6th, March the 6th. That's crazy.
That is a little nutso. But yeah, so mark that in your calendars. But what about next week, folks? Next week.
Oh, it's all about love, buddy.
Valentine's Day weekend. So what do you think we should do on Valentine's Day, Rob? Should we watch Love Actually?
Pornhub.
Should we watch? No, Rob. No. Should we watch? What's a big Valentine's Day staple? Probably a Hugh Grant movie of some kind. What?
The Notebook, isn't that?
The Notebook. Does The Notebook have Channing Tatum? Am I mistaking it for a different movie?
No, that's Ryan Gosling.
Oh, it's Ryan Gosling. What movie is Channing Tatum in?
Magic Mike, and we're not watching that for Valentine's Day.
There's a new Magic Mike coming out, right?
Yes.
It's like Save the Last Dance Magic Mike or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. But we have a really cool movie. I'm going to give a couple hints.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys in the chat. Rob's going to give you a couple hints.
All right. You guys ready for this?
Get ready.
It's not Magic Mike. Sorry, Michelle. It's also not Howard the Duck. Okay. It stars Dennis Hopper.
It's Speed.
Yeah. Pop quiz, hot shot. It stars Val Kilmer
Is it Batman?
playing Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley?
It stars Tony Soprano himself, James Gandolfini. It stars what's our I can't remember his name. Patricia Arquette.
Okay.
It stars.
Is Michael Rappaport in this movie?
It does have Michael Rappaport in it, yes. Who has a roommate named Floyd.
Is Floyd
played by
a very young, long-haired Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt. Who, yeah, and also has Gary Oldman, who's playing a Rastafarian. Directed by Tony Scott, written by Quentin Tarantino, we are watching True Romance for Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's Day, folks.
We are very Testa Smoochie. No, we are very excited. We got Michelle's seal of approval. Holy shit! Mark this day down.
We got the one time where she did not suggest as an alternative to watch Howard the Duck again.
Lewis says he'll pass. Honestly, not surprising. The sun and the
give it a try.
Rises
Lewis.
and sets as often as Lewis doesn't watch stuff.
It's on Amazon Prime in Canada, Lewis. Give it a try.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime in Canada, and if you don't have it and you live in Canada, guess what? It is also on CTV Throwback Movies, which is a completely free service on the CTV app. You just got to watch a few commercials throughout the course of the 2 hours or whatever. But True Romance, 1990, I want to say 1992, John. Again, directed by Tony Scott, written by Quentin Tarantino. There was that moment where in time where Quentin Tarantino had sold a bunch of his scripts, including Natural Born Killers and True Romance and whatnot, and did a little bit of work on Crimson Tide, and was also doing his own stuff like Reservoir Dogs and then Pulp Fiction. So really excited about really excited about getting into True Romance with you guys next week.
Yeah. Shout out Steve. Romeo plus Juliet, or William Shakespeare's Romeo plus Juliet with DiCaprio and Claire Danes.
That's Baz Luhrmann, right? Is that the one with John Leguizamo?
Yes.
With the gun. I remember my wife and I went and saw that at the theater, and the girls were in front of us were like crying at the end, and we're like,
spoilers. Were they also sad at the end of Titanic?
Yes. Yeah. I was like, how do you what?
They're like, oh my god, DiCaprio died.
You're like people like at Titanic going, yeah, what? People died on that ship. This is sad. Yeah,
it's crazy. Have we seen someone else come up in the lines of Leonardo DiCaprio where you basically just hear collective sighs during the movie theater when he appears? They're like, oh, like I feel like I haven't. There's no new actor, star, actress, anyone who just basically takes people's breath away like young Leonardo DiCaprio did. Did you say Patton Oswalt? What's he doing? MODOK? Get out of town.
Oh, well, at any rate, yeah, True Romance, Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, Brad Pitt, I was going to say Gary Busey, but no, Gary Oldman.
What do you recall that the movie is about?
Christopher Walken. That was the name I was talking
Christopher
about.
Walken. I love Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a rough idea what the movie was about? I recall drugs are involved. It's been a long time.
I just watched it a while ago.
Yeah.
I watched everything a while ago. So I watched it in 2022. I rewatched True Romance.
Yeah. Typical of Tarantino's early career. It is about crime. Basically, is the easiest way to sum it up. Yeah.
Crime wrapped, or a love story wrapped around crime and drugs and money and the wrong sorts of people. Chris Penn is in this. Bronson Pinchot is in this.
Balki Bartakamus. Get out of this city.
Samuel L. Jackson's in this too. So,
MFer. All right.
Yeah, that's
Samuel
right.
L. Jackson, the great Samuel L. Jackson. So
all right. I'm very excited about rewatching this, and I hope you are as well. Well, Lewis notwithstanding, I hope everybody else is excited to rewatch this.
Lewis, give it a chance. Watch the trailer at least. It's got some fantastic flavor to it, and I think most of us are fans of Tarantino stuff. Although Michelle says favorite Tarantino movie not directed by Tarantino. Oh yeah, because he fixed a lot of scripts for people or something like that, right?
Yeah, but he wrote this script and sold it, and it was directed by Tony Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the, I guess, the unofficial on his list of movies that he's done. Like, he's got his list of movies, and then whenever he talks about them, or when people interview him and stuff like that, True Romance always somehow pops up in the conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna revisit True Romance next week for Valentine's Day, the day before Valentine's Day, the 13th, I believe.
Yeah.
So please join us and have some fun. And Rob, any party words? Any Mission Impossible quotes you wanna rattle off? Something about a monkey and branches.
Not at all. My friend Dimitri.
You keep calling me that. You really shouldn't. That's the line. Oh, you know what? You know what line sticks out in my mind the most? I think it's like, would it make you feel better if I was not okay with this? And then she's like, yeah. And then Cruz is like, then feel better.
Do you mind if I get on top? No, I actually prefer it.
Okay. I think the romance was actually tolerable in this, whereas a lot of times Tom Cruise comes off in this very awkward romance.
No, he looked like a creeper at the beginning of this movie, and then add in.
I think that's John Woo. I don't think that's his fault. That's John Woo. Like, I'm gonna and in super slow motion, and everyone's standing there like, on camera, going, "Is it done yet?" He's like, and then we've been standing here for 15 minutes. He's still like craning past,
staring
at this thing. It's like we already given up. There's some shots where we're eating lunch and getting our makeup retouched. We don't know what's going on here. Anyways, thank you very much, folks, for tuning in. That's Rob. I'm John Ho. We're here every Monday, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will see you again next week. And this is my daughter.
See you, everybody.